Welcome to our Heart for the House presentation for 2022.
If you're new to Resonate, Heart for the House is a time of year that we look back at the last 12 months at all that God has done for us.
So join us as we look ahead to our vision for our church, for our city, for our nation, and our world. Check it out.
Our theme for Heart for the House 2022 is to dream again. As we look back over the past 12 months, we can see that God's been restoring dreams in our church. Psalm 126 says, "When the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dreamed."
And the footnote in many Bibles says that word translated dream can also be translated restore to health. And I love that, because what it means is that one of the ways God gives life to you, vitality, health to your bones, is to give you a dream. But it's not just a dream that's about your life. It's a God dream, and it's for others.
That's what Heart for the House is all about. It's about getting a God dream together in our hearts, about seeing people's lives transformed through God's love and action. And I just believe this is a significant moment, because we know that on the other side of a God dream, that lives are going to be restored in our church and in our city and beyond.
And so one of the things that we love to do when it comes time for Heart for the House is to tell some stories of how God has been restoring lives. Here's Chris and Charity's story.
I'm Charity Funk.
I'm Chris Funk. We've been married 16 years.
Yes. I was going to say 13.
Good thing I said it.
Yeah.
We actually met at a church 17 years ago. We had a very short relationship before we got married. But we met through a church in Winnipeg where we used to live. And we since then have moved out here. We moved to Chilliwack in 2018, but we didn't have a church when we moved out here. I think our journey kind of ended back in 2008, 2009 with a church that we were at where we met. We tried going to a bunch of churches in Winnipeg, not so much here because schedules didn't allow it, and then the pandemic kicked in. But
it was definitely not a priority for us anymore. No. We had been in the church scene pretty heavily, and I think we're feeling pretty burnt out from it. And so we took a step out and didn't get back in, and really didn't have any, we would go to church to check it out, whatever, but there wasn't any sort of we need to find a church. I always loved church growing up in the church, and since I was a little girl, always felt that I was meant to be a part of something so much bigger than myself. Do I remember that feeling very much like I lived in a glass house that had to look perfect, which was really difficult for me our first few years of marriage, because everything wasn't perfect. And it ended up feeling very isolating, and yet being surrounded and known by hundreds of people, and yet feeling not known at all. And I think that for me was probably the hardest thing.
I think it's safe to say we were away 13 years, but we definitely tried to find a church. You were probably more aggressive in trying to find a church than I was. Yeah, it was July 11th. I remember pulling up, parking our car, and just not really knowing what to do. So we sat on the bench and Pastor Rachel walked up to us, but I didn't know it was her.
But I did, because I had gone online and
Yeah.
checked out their faces.
Okay.
I knew who the pastors were.
I didn't know she had done that. And so we walk inside and we sit in the front row, because that's just how we do. We're front row people. We're like, if we're going to experience something, we want to experience it. Let's take it all in. So on the downbeat, floodgates opened. I just started bawling in the front row in a church I've never been to, in front of people I don't know, but I just started bawling. So I'm biting my cheek, trying to pull myself together. And it was just, I hadn't been to another church where the music actually impacted me, which is a big thing. Music is a huge thing for me.
Huge thing. That is always a really big.
Yeah, I play on the team at Resonate, and you may even notice that when I'm playing, I'm very just kind of stagnant or static. Not stagnant, I don't know if that's the word. Static.
No.
I'm more static. I'm very static when I stand there. I'm not like overly active, but that's because worship for me is such a personal thing between God and I. Like the guitar is my voice, and so that's just me worshiping when I'm up there. And so worship is a huge, huge, huge piece for my walk with God. And yeah, the whole time during praise and worship, I just couldn't stop crying, because it just hit me so hard with such incredible musicians and with such great songs. And so that took place. We sit down, and I just put my hand on Charity's knee and I kind of squeeze a little bit. I'm like, what just happened? Our drive home back to Chilliwack, we were just talking about, like, we were kind of in shock, just talking about what just took place and how we think we just found our church. And by the time we had gotten home, we decided, yeah, we just found our church.
I went to service, and I was sitting in service, and Pastor Shane announced what his title was, and it was something about forgiveness. My sister and I had been, I would say, I don't know if estranged in our relationship. Our relationship had been hurt deeply. I had been just asking God almost daily when I was going to go and see her. And I wanted to go and see her so bad. As I sat in service, I felt like God was like, today's the day. You got to go, and you got to go now. Like right now. If I would have gone 30 minutes later, the sun would have set, and my sister lives in a very remote area on the top of a mountain which lost all cell service, and there was literally miracle after miracle that happened that day. And everything inside of me, actually in my head, was creating fear and creating scenarios and ideas that I wanted to run from. That night, God did an amazing miracle, and yet it was scary, and it went on for hours, and so much reconciliation to something that I never knew would or could be reconciled. And he continues to work in her life and in her children's lives and my life and our relationship. It was definitely a day that I will never forget, and God is still working in, which has been amazing.
I would definitely, if you're thinking about getting involved but you're a little hesitant, I would definitely say just get involved. What's the worst thing that can happen? You get uninvolved. That's about it, right? I mean, or you actually gain some incredible relationships and grow. I mean, that could be challenging as well. But I would say just do it, because as you get to know more and more about everyone's heart and why they're serving and who they are and what the team is in fact all about, I think you're going to fall in love with it. You're going to meet incredible people. You're going to be surrounded by people who have your back, who are going to pray for you, who are going to listen to you, who are going to talk to you, who are going to be there for you, who care and don't judge. I don't know if that's something you feel, but I mean, there's no judgment about how you show up, about what you're wearing, about anything like that. Like, just as long as you're there to serve and your heart is right. It's such an incredible, freeing, beautiful thing to be a part of a church that is so life-giving and that is so accepting and so forgiving and so impactful.
As a church, we've been really intentional about global partnerships. And this will be our 5th year partnering with International Justice Mission and their work to globally fight modern-day slavery. We're going to continue to invest in their work, particularly in the Philippines, to fight the online exploitation of children.
We also partner with Himalayan Life. Last year, through our Heart for the House giving, we gave significantly to help finance the rebuilding of their school destroyed by the flood in 2021. We had planned to give $20,000, but because of your generosity, we were able to give $35,000.
Today, we're announcing our plans to take a team to Nepal in 2023. It's going to be our first international missions trip as a church. We're going to go and serve alongside their teams in Nepal. And if you are interested in being a part of that, stay tuned for interest meetings beginning at the start of 2023. Now, here's a video from their founder, Daniel Burgi, about the work that we did with them over the past 12 months.
Hello, Resonate Church. It's Daniel Burgi here from Himalayan Life, presently from Kathmandu. First of all, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you for your support, for standing with us so faithfully as we do our work of protecting, nurturing, and educating children here in the Himalayas. Your support has helped us greatly, particularly this past year, persevering as the floods of June 2021 have taken out a large portion of our school. We've been able to purchase tents in which we run grade 5, 6, and 7 because the classrooms are no longer there, have been washed away. We've been able to repurchase materials that were swept away. Thank you so much. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you once again for standing with us. And I am so excited about the plans that next year Resonate Church will have a team coming to Nepal to come and see and do some hands-on work together with Himalayan Life here in the Himalayas. Thank you, bless you, and bye for now.
Our global initiatives this year also included responding to 2 areas that were experiencing crisis. And so in March of this year, when the war in the Ukraine was scattering people, Pastor Peter Palik from CLA Church in Langley reached out to say, we're partnering in Poland and we need your help. Poland is overflowing with refugees. There was hundreds of thousands of people who didn't have a place to stay. And so we rallied as a church and we sent money to help fund volunteers who were driving to the border and picking up moms and kids and bringing them into Poland. And it was through partnership with CLA that we helped rent a warehouse and send beds and send clothing. Actually, one of the dads from right here at Resonate traveled to Poland to help on the ground.
We've also reached beyond our borders this year in October after Hurricane Ian hit Florida. As many of you know, we were supposed to be speaking at Next Level Church in Fort Myers in early October, and literally just days before we were to leave, we got reports that Fort Myers took a direct hit from Hurricane Ian. Many 1- and 2-story homes and businesses on the coast were completely wiped away. And Shane and I decided to still go, to get there on the ground and to be part of and watch as Next Level Church just mobilized their people and responded. And we had the opportunity while we were there to deliver an immediate $10,000 gift to help support their efforts.
And I remember as we were at one of the church locations, as they were giving away at the end of the day food and water and supplies and tarps, there was 2 cars pull up after they closed down. And tell that story.
2 moms just showing up in the parking lot asking for bottled water because they literally had no water. Many who didn't have stores of food didn't have food. They had no power for nearly 2 weeks. So it was absolutely incredible to watch as Next Level Church just mobilize their people, really became a distribution center to be able to serve their city and that region after the hurricane.
And you were a part of that. Here's a video from Pastors Matt and Sarah.
Hey everyone, Pastors Matt and Sarah Keller here, and we want to give you an update on what is going on here in Southwest Florida.
We are standing at our downtown Fort Myers distribution. At the end of September, Hurricane Ian came in and brought serious devastation all across Southwest Florida. Tens of thousands of homes and businesses have been affected, with many of them completely destroyed.
People are still without power, and there continues to be water and food scarcity here in so many of our communities.
But here's the good news. The Church of Jesus has come together to shine a light in the darkest hour.
Through your church's generosity, you've helped us provide hurricane essentials to over 30,000 people.
We've provided nearly 200,000 hot meals to first responders, people in shelters, and so many who have needed it at this time in our community.
We've mobilized over 250 teams to do projects such as tarping roofs or clearing debris, clearing flooded houses, ripping out drywall, and bringing the light of Jesus to our city.
Recently, we were talking to a mom in the car line with 3 kids in the back seat, and she looked at us in desperation and just said that without our food and water distribution, she wouldn't have had anything for her kids to eat that day. We are truly giving hope.
This whole time has reminded us of what Jesus said in Matthew 25, verse 40, when he said, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did it for me." Church, we are not finished.
We're in this for the long haul, and we know that our road to recovery will take a while, and we're so thankful for your continued partnership as we continue to shine the light of Jesus in Southwest Florida.
So Resonate Church, Pastors Shane and Rachel, we love you. Thank you. Through your church's generosity, we're making a huge kingdom impact in Southwest Florida.
And we are believing that when the world is at its darkest, the light of Jesus shines the brightest. We truly can't do this without you.
Thank you.
As we look ahead to 2023 and our global partnerships, we're going to be expanding our work with Compassion International. We love this organization. I know for myself, I've been sponsoring kids through Compassion since I was just a little boy myself. I remember going after church and getting that card and saying, "This is the kid I want to sponsor, Mom and Dad." And I think they gave me $10 to start the process. And so next spring, we're going to be doing that.
Yes.
We're going to be having our first ever Compassion Sunday with a goal to collectively sponsor more than 50 kids and their families on a single Sunday. Today, we're announcing that we're also increasing our involvement with Compassion through financial support to run a Moms and Babies program in Guatemala. The Moms and Babies program that Compassion runs, it helps to fill that need between conception and age 3 when children can be sponsored. And so it's a combination. There's health checkups for mom, pre and postnatal care, early childhood development, and spiritual care through a local church. And we've committed already before our Heart for the House offering that we will be giving $17,000 to fund this project in Totonicapán. I don't know how to say that. Oh, you nailed it. Guatemala in our first year. But that's just a place and a number. And to understand the impact of Compassion, I've asked Walter, our creative director, to join me to tell the story of the role of Compassion in your life.
Well, I actually did not know about Compassion and the impact that I had growing up. But as I was actually working on this video, my parents said, "Hey, what are you working on?" I said, "Well, I'm working on this Compassion video." And then my mom turns and says to me, "Well, did you know that you were sponsored by Compassion?" I'm like, "What? What are you talking about? Tell me the whole story." So it turns out that as I was actually sponsored by Compassion since the age of 3, and I left El Salvador at the age of 6, borderline 7. And so without even knowing, years later, I am a fruit of Compassion. I'm a fruit of someone giving. And here I am now in Vancouver, creative director, serving the church. So talk about an impact.
Yeah, making a video about Compassion. And so this year, through your giving, we're going to be beginning a brand new project, the Moms and Babies Project in Guatemala.
As a church, our heart beats for the nation of Canada. We want to know God's heart for Canada and run on mission for our country. When it comes to national impact, we just believe that there's nothing more important than helping to be part of planting new churches in our nation. We simply believe the gospel is the hope of the world and that the local church is how God's chosen to reach his sons and daughters.
And so nationally, we partner with and we sit on the lead team for ARC in Canada, a church planting organization. And this year, through our partnership with ARC, we helped to plant Citadel Church right here in BC.
In June, we got together with hundreds of pastors and church leaders in Calgary for the ARC conference. And for the first time since 2019, we got to pray and dream about impacting our nation again together. It definitely was a time to dream again.
Once a church gets planted, we know that those pastors are going to need ongoing care and coaching and development. So this year, we've been continuing to grow our reach through the Next Level Relational Network right here in Canada. And many of you will know that every single month we gather online with pastors from Ontario and Winnipeg and Alberta and BC. One of the new couples to join in the network this year was Drew and Andrea Riak from Windsor, Ontario. And we wanted to introduce them to you today for them to tell a little bit of their story.
Resonate Church, what is going on? My name is Drew.
And I'm Andy.
And we are the lead pastors of a church here in Windsor called Exchange Church. We are just about to celebrate our 4th birthday, and we're having a blast here in Windsor, and we want to let you know that we love you guys. So excited for your morning this morning, and we're cheering you on. Man, we have found great friendships with pastors Shane and Rachel Johnston. You guys are incredible. You guys have some amazing leadership at your church, and actually we've grown in relationship this year. We're a part of a group called Next Level Relationship. I'm in the brotherhood group. Andy's in the sisterhood group.
Yeah, and I've just really loved connecting with all the pastors' wives in that group. The realness, safety, and the authenticity we can have is pretty incredible.
Absolutely. We actually had an opportunity to get together in Kananaskis, Alberta earlier this year. All the pastors and we all were hanging out for a couple days, and some pretty incredible God moments, that weekend. I remember this moment where, the guys were getting real and the tears start flowing. You know what it means to ugly cry. I remember I ugly cried all over Pastor Shane. I'm sorry for ruining your very nice sweater. But again, I just love that we've had the opportunity to grow as a couple, to grow as leadership, and you guys are a big part of that. Your pastors are a huge part of that. So we're cheering you on today. I'm believing that the best is still ahead for your church, for your city, Coquitlam. We're cheering you on, and we love you. So love from Windsor, love from the Reacts. You guys are incredible, and we'll talk to you soon.
When we think of church, often we think of the Sunday experience, the worship, the message, the kids program, coffee in the lobby. All of those are amazing, and church is so much more than just our Sunday experience. We exist to reach outside the 4 walls of this building and take the message of Jesus to those who are hopeless and hungry, hurting, and say, we are here for you, and there's a God that loves you. Our focus as a church is always about people. We'll always be about people because that's the heart of our God. He loves people so much, and so do we.
We're so grateful for our Serve local initiatives. Through our weekend food program, we're able to help feed kids and families that are normally served throughout the week by food programs at their schools with food that they need for their families each weekend. And what's beautiful is that we've been able to build relationships with these gorgeous families. We get to know some of them, not just as people that we serve, but now even as attendees of Resonate Church, part of our church family.
Every month, we also engage with Love My City Saturdays on the last weekend of every month. We partner with Wings Ministry and their work with women and children who are fleeing domestic abuse situations. We partner with Bee's Closet and their work to provide transition resources for young women who are coming out of recovery homes or shelters. And we work with the New View Society and their work with people who find themselves in a season of mental health struggle. We want to see Christ's love in action in our city, all across our city.
Serve Day this year was our best yet. We didn't finish when we'd finished with all the initiatives and the homes that we were serving. We invited everyone that we had served to come to a barbecue, not just as people we serve, but as part of our Resonate family. One woman we had served, she came to church the next week. And she told me through tears she hadn't been to church since she was 14 years old when her dad died. And it just kind of made it too difficult to ever go back. And now here she was walking into church for the first time in decades with her grandbabies. Why? Because someone showed up and served. And of course, it's about more than the serve. It's about the transforming power of the love of Jesus, that we're not just about meeting needs. At the end of the day, it's about the transformational love of Jesus. That's what we're all about. And so here, as a picture of what the transformational love of Jesus has done right here at Resonate this year, here's Kaylin's story.
My name's Kaylin. I have been at Resonate for approximately just over a year now, about 16 months. I was never raised in faith. My family was a little dysfunctional, if you could say. Faith was never even brought up. We never talked about God. We never talked about, I wouldn't say we were atheists. We were just faithless, I guess. I used to make fun of Christians, like the Bible thumpers. We thought of, and it's weird because it was almost like none of my friends were religious at all. And so our entire group would just kind of mock the church and mock the people that went there. And I would see it as this extreme, there was never just like a middle ground. It was just you're either Bible thumping Christian hardcore or you're just not. And so I chose not for a very long time. Yeah, drugs took everything from me, really. This person that is sitting here today is definitely not the person that was here 5 years ago. I had lost all of my confidence in myself, all of my self-worth, and I felt ashamed of who I was. And because I didn't feel like I was worth anything, I ended up being in a lot of situations where people took advantage of that. And those are moments, it's funny, they're moments now where I look back and I know that God was with me, because there's a lot of times that I really shouldn't have been alive. I know that God was with me in those moments, and I know that He has perfect timing. Because for a long time, even through my sobriety journey, I've held back on the healing part. I've really blocked that time out of my life. I've decided that I don't want to be or even think of that person anymore. And now that I'm here, by God's grace, I do feel finally strong enough to face those things that I went through and use it for good. I had seen a friend of mine, Lisa, posting on social media, or like her Instagram stories about Resonate, and I thought this looked like a pretty decent place. Like, it didn't look scary or uninviting. It looked something that I could maybe see myself going to. So after a few months, I reached out and I asked her to take me, and I went. And I remember at that time, like, I did not believe in Jesus. I knew nothing, like literally nothing about the Bible or Christianity whatsoever. But I know that when I walked into the doors, I felt this sense of security and this feeling of being safe. And it was just warm, like it was a nice feeling. And I started coming, I came once and then I pretty much never stopped. I started coming every Sunday. And I remember one Sunday, I don't even know why I was sad, but I just cried the entire service, like ugly cried the entire service. And when I left, I actually did see Pastor Troy, and I was like sobbing, you know, when you can't get the words out properly. And I feel like he might have been a little overwhelmed. So he's like, let me go get Rachel. So he went and got Rachel, and I had like my first chat with Rachel, and she was just lovely. And I remember through kind of like getting to know the pastors, especially like talking to Pastor Rachel, and hearing other people's stories and knowing that nobody here was perfect either. Everybody has their story and everybody's here. And I love the saying, like, you're just a bunch of imperfect people pursuing perfect God, because I've come to realize how true that really is. I am so thankful for Resonate for making me feel welcome enough to come and to find God, because my life has changed completely. And I want my kids, I want all of my kids to know that God is there for them through the hard times, and that he loves and that he forgives, and that, you know, he doesn't need you to be perfect, and all of these amazing things. And I'd say just try. This is coming from somebody who is not religious at all. And it was hard for me to become vulnerable and to come to church, but just try. I don't even know how else to explain it. It changes your life. This family here at Resonate is amazing and wonderful, and all these people are great, and I love them all. But God himself is like, he can do miracles, and he works miracles every single day, and I've seen it in my own life. And I want that peace for you. It was like, I was sober for 3 years before I came to church. And even though I was sober, I was not healthy. I was not in a place of being at peace. And God restored my heart to be somebody that I'm proud to be today.
One of the biggest prayers that we have right now for Resonate Church is the prayer for a permanent facility for Resonate. And this year, God's been doing miracles on that journey. And we know it's going to take so many miracles for God to open that door. We all know the price of real estate in the Tri-Cities. But come on, how many know it's Jesus' church?
That's right. Come on.
So he will make a way.
One of the miracles that we experienced this year on that journey happened in August. Our family was away camping, and our pastors, who many of you got to meet in June, Pastors Matt and Sarah Keller from Next Level Church, they reached out to us and asked if we could get on a Zoom call together. And they knew that we were away camping, and so we thought, okay, this must be something important if you're asking to get on a Zoom call while we're away on a family vacation. So we drove to where we could get some reception and got on the call, and a few minutes into the conversation, they told us that they're in the middle of a $5 million building project in their downtown Fort Myers campus location for their church. And because they need a miracle to get to where they're going, they just knew that they needed to sow sacrificially. So they've been praying and asking God where they should give and how much they should give. And as they prayed, they both said that God just kept bringing Resonate Church back to both of their hearts. And so on that Zoom call, they told us out in Chilliwack in the middle of nowhere, they told us that we want to donate $250,000 US to our building project. And come on, let's just celebrate how much of a miracle that is.
And the moment they shared that with us, we couldn't even contain ourselves. We were like, how is this even possible?
Only God.
We could tell that they were leading towards something of an investment in Resonate Church. We had no idea. When it was translated into Canadian dollars, it was $323,052, all from another church that needs a miracle themselves.
Right.
And so with their gift, this is already our largest Heart for the House ever.
So good.
And I share that miracle to stir your faith, maybe
Right.
even challenge you
Yeah.
to say that if you need a miracle, maybe
Right.
the path to your miracle begins with a sacrificial gift, trusting that God is your provider. We say it this way all the time. We're going to sow where we want to go.
Right. Yes.
Meaning that we're going to give and then we're going to believe God gives the increase. Resonate family, we're building Jesus' church together. We're going to continue to see people make decisions to
Right.
follow Jesus. Children get dedicated. New believers get baptized. Young people get discipled. Couples getting married.
Come on.
Could be you. People in need are going to get served. At the end of all of this, God is going to get the glory.
So we want to invite you to join us in faith as we advance the kingdom of God on earth through His church. We believe this miracle offering will outlast us. It's going to impact our children and our grandchildren, the generations. This is a part of our legacy here on earth. On our own, we can make a small difference, but collectively, we can make a huge, significant impact. Galatians 6 verse 9 says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." So as we approach this Heart for the House miracle offering with expectation in our hearts and vision for the future, we're building the church for future generations.
So come on, let's dare to dream. This is our Heart for the House.
Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you'll leave inspired with everything that God's doing among us. See you in 2023.